Hi, everybody. Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look this time at the astrological weather report for the week of May 20th through 26th. And the feature of this week is a full moon at the critical third degree of Sagittarius in a sextile with Pluto and ruled by Jupiter, which is doing all kinds of stuff this week. A very, very powerful full moon for us this week where we can bring in a lot more knowledge, expansion, growth, wisdom. This is really, I don't see energies align like this very much, you guys. So this is going to be a very powerful week to use the energy to push ourselves forward. All right, so we'll get into that really deeply in a minute. We also have Jupiter going into Gemini this week. Venus is also going into Gemini this week. So, and the sun is going into Gemini this week. So the Gemini Sagittarius part of the zodiac is now coming in to play for the next few weeks. All right, just a little business first. The Astrological Winds channel is a free video blog that I do on YouTube every week. So if you have a YouTube account and you like what you see, become a follower, please, and don't forget to turn on your notifications, because that's when you're gonna that's when they'll let you know that I post the blog. They won't let you know otherwise. I don't have time to let you guys know myself, so you got to take some responsibility on that. Also, remember the blog has been a podcast long before it was a video YouTube channel, so I still have it out there on podcasts. My point. If you'd rather not watch the video, you want to be freed up to do it when hear it at other times when you're more active, just look it up on your favorite podcasts, Astrological Winds channel. You should be able to find it. Apple iPodcast has it. A bunch of others do. I also post the link on Instagram. Astrological Winds channel has its own Instagram account. So if you're an Instagram follower, if you have an Instagram account, become a follower there too. And sometimes I do post additional information on certain days just in written form there, so you may miss certain things if you don't do that. Also put it on Facebook. That's under my private account. That's Matthew with two T's, Lawton, Lauten. If you want, it'll come up in your newsreel every week. You can friend me and I need to approve your friendship. And the best place to find it is on my website, www.astrologicalwinds.com. I post the blog every week there. It goes right to the YouTube channel. It has the past blogs for the last couple months or so there. So if you need to refer back to the monthly or whatever, it's all there. It also has the menu for all the professional services that I offer individuals and groups. Check that out. That's the best way you guys can support me, is when you or someone you know needs a reading, or if you have a group that's looking for some astrology event, please check out what I've got. Get in touch with me, start the process up. Would love to do your chart. I've been doing them for 20 years, all kinds of different readings available. Like I said, check the website and the menu. That's www.astrologicalwinds.com. And remember, this is a free service, so I really would love if you could please, please, please pass the link on to somebody else that you know when you're done. If you'd like to give a currency donation, my Venmo handle is at Matthew-Lawton, Lauten. Any amount is helpful. Thank you so much for anyone who's ever done that. Appreciate you guys so much. All right, let's get into this. It's like I said, if we're going into the Gemini season, the other side of Gemini is Sagittarius. So it's really a time of information. It's a time of knowledge. It's a time of learning. It's a time of expanding our knowledge bases. And that starts right now, today on Monday, when the sun goes into Gemini. It's the last third of the spring in the northern hemisphere, and down in the southern hemisphere will be the last third of the autumn that's kicking in. And what, Gemini is all about stimulating the mind. It's the first mutable sign. It's the mutable signs go out and they collect more information to bring it back so that we can liven up ourselves. So you think about what Taurus is right before this. It's the most fixed sign. It's the most fixed sign in the ways it does things. And, that can get kind of monotonous. So Gemini's job is to go out like a bee or a butterfly and collect little pieces of knowledge and information, bring it back to us, bring it back to the group, bring it back to the tribe, bring it back to the nation, whoever it may be, and stimulate new interest, stimulate new growth by giving the little seeds of information and knowledge. So, Gemini not only is out there collecting that information and knowledge, but it also likes to process it. So it's a lot to do with communications too. Information, communications, and that's how we learn about things, is by communicating this new information that we've been getting exposed to and bouncing it off of other people in conversations, in groups, in writing, in posts and things like that, and testing these new ideas out, getting some information and feedback back is a good way to say that. And Gemini moves very quickly from one thing to another. It's a very surface kind of energy. It's a superficial energy. It takes a little bit here, a little bit there, and it's expanding its viewpoints always. Will have a very sharp, acute, witty mind, amusing mind, maybe sometimes to the point of being a little bit too light and amusing and not being serious enough at times. And another way we get a lot of this information, and it's another great time, is through travel. Getting around, we collect different parts of information, especially locally or in our areas, where we can bring information back to us. And what does that do? Collecting all this information, it expands our knowledge base, right? And what does expanding our knowledge base do? It changes the way we see things. It changes our viewpoints. It even changes what we value. So this is what, Gemini's job is. So this month, while the sun is in Gemini, that's what we're about. It really appeals to the mind a lot, and bringing in things to the intellect. Gemini doesn't really value emotion as much. And in fact, we'll see emotion at times as a hindrance or something not to be bothered with. And, that can be part of the reason at times that it can feel like, Gemini is a little bit disconnected from you, and that you feel like, oh, there's this constantly changing things. And that's another thing about change with Gemini. It's a rapidly changing moods. It's kind of like the two theater masks, the sad and happy, just going from sad to happy very quickly. If you get caught up in the sad part of Gemini, it's always the solution is to always bring in more information, because that will perk you right back up and get you very interested in checking things out. And then the optimism comes in again. But Gemini is really, why are we doing this? Why are we always out there collecting this information? It's a search for the truth. That's what's really driving Gemini energy, a search for the truth. And it looks for that outside. It's an extroverted sign. It's an intellectual sign. It's an active sign. So it's going outside to look for that. But the thing is, that truth is already inside us. So it's a big circle. What happens is, as we find all this information, it eventually leads right back to what is inside us. It is the search for literally our eternal soul that is already within us. And where is that? So there's a very, very, very interesting energy with Gemini, always trying to collect that information. And that's why. And like I said, you can be very superficial at times, very changing at times. It can be at times like Gemini adjusts their plans nonstop. Gemini energy is always adjusting plans, so that can surprise people who thought, you might have had something solid, and you're like, well, can't you just flow with it? So that's something. The moods change rapidly, our emotions change rapidly also. So that brings us, like I said, fully into this, getting us deeper and deeper into this Gemini season. And like I said, later in the week, both Venus and Jupiter go into Gemini too. So really getting into that. But the big thing of this week is this very, very powerful full moon. This, I don't see energy aligned like this very often, and it's happens a few times here and there, where things just are so acute as to where we should be going right now. And this full moon is very much like that. The full moon is in Sag, and it's at 3 degrees. And so that's the Sagittarius Gemini axis again. And what is that full moon saying? Just like I told you guys all, just what Gemini is all about, that Gemini sun. The moon in Sag is like all this information that you've been collecting lately, all this knowledge that you've been collecting lately, it's still on the surface. It's very interesting. What are you going to do with it? Is what the full moon in Sag says. It's like stop flitting from thing to thing. Take something that has a lot of inspiration for you. You feel that inspiration, right? Feel it and take off with that. Head off to the horizon. Get deeper into the knowledge. What the full moon in Sag wants to do is take the information that Gemini has found and collected and transmute it into knowledge. And from that knowledge base, then alchemize that into wisdom. Okay? So, information, knowledge, wisdom. So, that's what the tension in this full moon is about. It's about the Sagittarius side saying, hey, we need to do something with this now. It's all fine and dandy to collect this stuff and bounce around and do all this stuff. But if you're not going to take anything with it and take yourself to a new level, then what good is all this not information? It's just like too much information. It's a lot of static eventually, right? So you need to hone in on what you're feeling is really important to you. And how do we do this, right? With Sag, it's what appeals to our values, to our morals, to our principles, to our standards, and what ups them up, what lifts them up to another level, right? What takes them to a new horizon. Sag is not going to be tied down. It's not going to allow anyone to hold it back. It is freedom seeking. It is independent. It wants to find out things and bring others out to that edge. So this is looking for new adventures, looking for new things to do, new people to connect with, new places to go. Once again, Sag says, take it beyond your local area, take it beyond the people that you normally associate with, and go out into the world. Take in input from people who are from different backgrounds, different ages, different places, different cultures, different socioeconomics. They all have some very valuable information for us that can help us to grow and expand our consciousness. So this is like really a time to push ahead for that, to go out to that horizon and take some chances, take some risks that you normally wouldn't. Now, interestingly enough, like I said, the energy is incredibly aligning. I said the 3 degrees is a critical degree because it's new stuff. This information that you're getting is very new and important information. It can change your life and for good. So it's really very, very important. And what's interesting is the aspect that the moon and sun is making is a sextile and trine to Pluto. Okay. And that is wanting to take that information to new levels of depth, that there's opportunities out there to get into what that is, what really has gotten your attention, the new info that you're getting, and become very passionate with it, become very deep with it, go down to the bottom, find out what's really driving it, and be motivated by that, and just sink into whatever that is that you're into so deeply, so passionately now that just take it to new levels. The desire for new experiences that are profound, that change the way we see things, that transmute the way we see things, that transform us. And this can come through other people, it can come from information, it can come from groups, but it's true and deep. And it is, can come as almost like secret knowledge, secret wisdom, esoteric information, mysteries, spiritual stuff, creative energy, that all is bringing reform into your life, reforming your life, reshaping your life. And Sagittarius helps us to stay wide open to whatever those possibilities may be. Break through any of the programming that we've had from cultures or others that have held us back. Stop, trying to be judge all these things and allow more of it to come in and change us, to bring a lot of focus into the mind and bringing it out and expanding it and just using that mind to focus so deeply with this Pluto energy to really change your life. So we can take this to really powerful levels, really deep levels where we can come into our power and really change things around us. We can influence those around us. We can use our power in very positive ways where we're bringing new information back to the tribe, to ourselves, and just creating new intellectual forms, new places to go, releasing the creative energy out of us so that it is wide and expansive and going so far. And how amazing, how amazing this lineup and this full moon is, not only at the critical third degree, but we're getting the Pluto thing, but now also the ruler of the full moon is Jupiter, which is in the critical 30th degree of Taurus. It's ready to move on from what's been. It's ready to move on from old ways and take in new. Jupiter is exactly sextile Neptune on the same day as the full moon. That's incredible. What do those two have in common? Idealism and the values they have, lifting them up to a much higher level, seeing a very broad and what I would call a spiritual view of things, where you can really use this energy of this full moon to open up to what the possibilities of that can be, and that creates new opportunity. This is a time where we will have opportunities to take our ideals, to take the things we really believe in and value, and get opportunities to use them and put them out into the world and expand our own personal growth and just push on to new frontiers, to go to places we've never gone to before. This is a very spiritual energy too, the Jupiter sextile Neptune. It has a very big view of things. It is very tolerant and is very open to being appealed to the ideal. So anything that we feel is appealing to that, and if we see an opportunity there, it's saying, go, take it. This is the time to do it, which is exactly what that Sagittarius full moon wants. So it's closing the loop. And incredibly, I said, this day just continues. Venus is going to conjunct Jupiter and sextile Neptune the same day, right before it goes into Gemini, right at that critical 30th degree. So what's that saying? These new opportunities, these new chances to expand our world on all levels, our consciousness, our growth, everything in our life can expand. And Venus, through the appeal of our ideals, but with Venus, it's saying that's through relationships, that there's other people that have similar values to you, similar ideals to you, Venus sextile Neptune, that you have opportunities to connect with right now and can really help each other out, can give each other what we need to be inspired to imagine what our new world is going to be like for each one of us and for everyone. This is Venus brings the lower octave of love, conditional love, and Neptune brings in unconditional love, the higher octave of love, in a harmonious way. So we want to support and help each other. We want to take in more. We want to be tolerant. And then conjunct Jupiter. I mean, that's one of the best aspects there is, you guys. Venus conjunct Jupiter. It is getting value through relationships. And it can have us feel very optimistic about life, very positive, very high about life. We can get financial windfalls too through people that come into our lives. We really benefit one another under this energy. So you can see how this full moon's working, right? Take the information you've been collecting, right? Start to transmute it into a deeper foundation of knowledge, then take it out to another place where it expands and expands and it becomes wisdom. How are we doing that? We're going into things very, very deeply. We're going to look into things very deeply and go and just roll up our sleeves and be like, this is where I want to go. I have passion behind this. This is where I want to use my power in a harmonious way. And how do we do that? By having the opportunities to appeal to our ideals, to expand and bring that in. And that's going to come in through mainly relationships. And it can have benefits on all kinds of levels for us. So a very, very powerful full moon in a positive sense. We have 4 or 5 things that are just all aligning on that day that are very, very positive energies to work with this, to take this information that we've been gathering and take it to a new level for ourselves. And that just helps everyone else around us. This is transformation. This is just growth and expansion with this new knowledge that we transmute into wisdom. And then, like I said, later in the day on Wednesday, then Venus goes into Gemini. And that is where Venus gets into a sign where she gets very externalized again. This is where she wants to go out, meet other people, take in new information, get fired up. Once again, Gemini energy with Venus is like not the emotional input is secondary now. It's like really wanting to collect information from people, wants to communicate, very witty, humorous, entertaining kind of mind, and also creativity with words. We can be very eloquent with our words when Venus is in Gemini, right? It's really good for any kinds of art with words, storytelling, writing, poetry, play work, whatever it may be, all those things. The thing that, once again, with Venus and Gemini, that, it's going to run from deep emotional relationships. Just like like I said, Gemini Sag doesn't want to have the mind slowed down and the new information coming in slowed down by emotional content. So same thing with Venus in Gemini. She's valuing things that are more informational, more intellectual, those kind of things, and may actually run from the deeper emotional stuff. And that's one of the weaknesses of Venus in Gemini, is not going into that depth. But then we have Pluto helping us out. Remember, we had the moon, full moon sextile Pluto, sun trine, and then on Saturday, Venus will trine Pluto too. So this is going to say, you know what? The information and the superficial stuff isn't doing it enough for me. There are certain relationships that I really need to go down deep into and follow them wherever they may lead me, because they're bringing extreme, deep transformation to me and helping me understand life better, helping me understand myself better, helping me understand other relationships better. So this is very, very deep energy. And the Venus trine Pluto and the new moon and sun also connecting to Pluto. This is saying take this stuff to a new level, a deeper, deeper, deeper level. So very interesting energy going on. And also the Venus trine Pluto can also have us get very passionate about output in art and creativity, so we can get just work up in a storm and really get productive and deep with our artistic output, our creative output, whatever that may be. And the last thing I want to mention this week is, once more, and I mentioned it in the monthly, and you may want to go back a couple weeks to the blog that has the monthly in it to get a little more insight into it. But Jupiter is going to go into Gemini too. So same thing, Jupiter is all about expansion and growth. So when it's in Gemini, it's going to be for a year. It's going to be until next May that Jupiter is in Gemini. This is a time where we get expansion through the intellect, through logic. That's what appeals to it. And that's a lot of times that's not really Jupiter's most comfortable thing. It really does like to have more than just logic and intellect appealing to it. It really, like I said, the values and ideals are very important to Jupiter. But like I said in the monthly, this Jupiter is going to bring expansion to communications. It's going to bring expansion to travel and education. So the next year is really good for all three of those things. If you're working on any kind of communication projects, any kind of travel you do will bring in new experiences and information that you need. And great year to take a course, to study, to get our knowledge gained up. And what does this information do? When we take in information, it helps adjust our viewpoints on things, how we see things, and we become more tolerant and we can take in more. Once again, Jupiter in Gemini, it's not going to want too much emotional input. However, it doesn't want that stuff to slow it down, but it is very much into collecting and bringing in information that's going to expand things. So really look for it in the world of communication, the world of travel, and the world of technology. Those are places where you could even invest and probably expect some good returns. And that's places where you can invest your time too, your creativity, where you can expand things on those levels all this next year. The last time that Jupiter was in Gemini was the last half of 2012 into 2013. And that's, if you remember, in the United States, that's when Obama won the second term. That was also the time that like the a lot of the information of or the revolutions that came with Occupy and Tea Party started to spread into other parts of the world. And that's that time, if you remember, when Egypt had all the people out in the streets, the revolution, and and threw out their leader at the time. And there was a lot of energy like in the world being spent around the Middle East. And so we have that going on again this year, and where, and a lot of protests and things like that again, just like back the last time in Jupiter's Gemini. Why does that happen? Because the media that Jupiter and Gemini brings, the instant social media, can really help people in these big movements connect with one another and be out there together. So you can see how that Jupiter and Gemini helped, foment some of that stuff the last time. And we have a lot of similar things going on in the world right now. So, the technology, the information gets around the world very, very quickly now. So we may have very similar energy. But like I said, go back a couple weeks to the monthly. I have some more stuff in there in Jupiter and Gemini, and you can get into that in more depth. But this, to me, this week is just so powerful, you guys, to use whatever it's been for you the last month, 2, 3, 4 months, whatever the information, even the last week or two, that it seems to be really important to you. That is stuff that can really take you to a new level right now in your consciousness, in your growth, in your personal life, and expansion on all kinds of levels. And the energy is so aligned right now to take it to new depths, to bring in new passion to it, because it's appealing to your ideals. It's giving you the freedom to be who you really want to be. And it's coming through relationships where you're finding people who are very much similar to you, and you can be supportive of one another, giving each other this new information that's helping expand, and working through those processes together, the educational processes that we need to do to integrate that stuff. So just a really great week for that stuff, you guys. So I really highly recommend. And remember, with the full moon, you want to look where 3 degrees Sag and 3 degrees Gemini are in your chart. And that's going to tell you the 2 houses where the axis that is most affected by this energy. So if it's the 4th and 10th house, that means, career and home and family are going to be the axis where a lot of this new information is coming in that you need to take in and transmute into something higher and more wise for you that will expand your world. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. Next week, we have I'll probably do the monthly too. It's the last week of the month, and we'll be going into June. And I do know that once again, Jupiter is going to be busy. It's going to hit a trine to Pluto next week. So once again, very powerful, harmonious energy to make change. So I'll talk about that next week, and I'll look at June. I do a preview of June, not only the week next week, but we'll look at June too. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. This is a free video blog that I do on YouTube every week for you, for me, for the world. And I really need you right now to pass the link on to somebody else. It's a free service, and I really would appreciate it if you can pass this link on to somebody else. Even if you've done that before, please do. And remember, it's available on podcasts too. Just look up Astrological Winds channel on your favorite podcast. You should be able to find it. Also, Instagram, it's available there. Facebook, you have to private Facebook me. It's Matthew with 2 T's, Lawton, Lauten. I do post it on the newsletter. And the best place, the website, www.astrologicalwinds.com. That has my last bunch of blogs all embedded in it. Takes you right to the link of YouTube. It also shows you all the services I offer professionally. I can use your support when you're ready to get a reading done. Please check out. I've been doing readings for over 20 years, professionally trained for over 7 years. All kinds of people have had great experiences, testimonials. So I'm going to be offering some new services soon too on the website. So anyone who wants to get into astrology even deeper for their everyday life, I'm going to be offering some new services. I'll let you guys know about that and some other new things on it. Check the website out. Like I said, also change the calendar page every week so you can look at the calendar, see what some of the old Earth holidays, things like that were, very potent days where we can do certain things on this physical planet that we exist on these days. So anyway, thank you for all your support. Check out the website. Please pass the link the link along to someone else. And I will see you guys all next week, and we'll take a look at June and the week and then Jupiter trine Pluto.